open the door, get the thought processes starting. So let's get back to what Anjum had to say.
Can you remember? It was you in a debate. You see, you admitted it yourself. The truth always prevails, Sam. Sometimes you just expose yourself.
Now, obviously, that doesn't make any sense to start at that point because we didn't hear the quote.
And oddly enough, I have a quote here. I wonder if you can guess who said this, Sam. Who would be convinced that he is God when he's dying on the cross? You know who said that, Sam? Can you remember? It was you in a debate. You see, you admitted it yourself. The truth always prevails, Sam. Sometimes you just expose yourself.
Now, everyone in this audience is sitting here going, well, I know what Sam was probably saying there. I mean, that's 1 Corinthians chapter 1, the foolishness of the preaching of the cross. It's to those who are perishing foolishness. It's to the Jews who are seeking signs. It's a scandalon. It's a stumbling block. What? But again, the Muslim who is ignorant of the Injil, ignorant of the New Testament, they may try to differentiate and then they can explain what Muhammad meant on their own. They don't know. And so the tendency on our part is to be offended at the fact that they don't care enough to be careful in what they're saying. We've got to ask for spirit-given ability to put that aside and to recognize that for many, they've never heard the truth. Others, they've not heard the truth in such a way that it's opened their heart to mind. I mean, Anjum Chowdhury has heard the truth. Anjum will have absolutely no way of saying, oh, well, I never knew. Oh, yeah, he has. But does that mean that, once we can tell, well, that person's heard the truth, so we won't talk to them anymore? Some of you sitting in this audience are Christians, and man, some people bothered you for a long time before the Lord opened your heart and mind. So we keep trying. Where's the line about casting pearls? I don't know. It's a hard thing to answer, but I think we have to try as best we can, and let grace be the guiding factor there.
And obviously, if you die, you can't be God. I mean, these things are so clear. And what was God doing? When he was born, he came out of the womb of Maryam alayhi salam. Are you saying really that God was born from the womb?
Yes, Anjum. Of course, we are saying the Son of God, not the Father nor the Spirit. But yes, Jesus truly became man. It was necessary so that he would have that perfect life to give out of his condescension and out of his love. Yes, that's exactly what the Son of God did. We must be very, very clear, and we must demand that the Muslim sees that they are, in essence, adopting somewhat of a Gnostic perspective in regards to creation, to take the objection that they do. God can take on a perfect human nature, not a sinful human nature. And remember, in the debate with Abdullah Kunda, that's what it all came down to, was that from Abdullah's perspective, if it's not God, it's imperfect. God can't create something that is perfect unless it's God. There's a fundamental confusion of ontology there. Now, Abdullah Kunda is one of 12 Muslims in the world that's actually thought it through that far. The vast majority have never even gotten to that point. But that's what it ends up boiling down to. Yes, it's exactly what we're saying. And that's why Christians have to understand fundamental issues of what hypostatic union means, of what it means to say that Jesus is one person with two natures. Doesn't mean we can answer every single question about the subject, because the Bible doesn't answer every single question about the subject. There are all sorts of questions that we can ask that the Bible has absolutely no intention of helping us to become curious about. And Jesus was absolutely unique. So no, it's like when Yusuf Ismail debated William Lane Craig and said, "Give us an example of this in nature." No, you can't, or it wouldn't be unique if you could. It would be a fundamental denial of what we actually believe about Christology.
And he was weak and needy. And what was he doing at that time? He was God, was he, as a baby? Come on.
I'm sorry, and Jim, come on, is not an argument. Come on. That's we live in a day, you can tell when people have spent most of their time on British television and on with Fox News with Hannity, when they think that come on is an argument. Sadly, for a lot of folks, come on is an argument. Oh, okay. It's just,
Let's think about this. And as I say, Paul says that no one can see God, and yet we can see many people saw Jesus. The Bible said God.
Now again, and Rich is doing a facepalm in the other room, but when I play the Muslim from the 1999 debate, the fig to the argument, I love watching the audiences because they're like, ha, man. And then you go, so how would you answer? And that's when you discover that, ha, man, isn't an argument either, nor is it much of a response. Sometimes it's just the argument is so bad that it's hard to respond to because it's so bad, because you've never really thought about it before. It wasn't Paul actually, but if for example, if someone said, well, Paul said no one's seen God, yet people saw Jesus, so how can Jesus be God? You should have an immediate response to that. You say, well, what is it so we can have it? Think about it for yourself for a second. There is a single verse of Scripture that directly addresses that exact issue in the exact way that you would want to explain it to a Muslim. One verse. Now, I'm not saying that there are not other verses that could be used. What I'm saying is there's one verse that immediately should come to your mind. John 1:18. No one has seen God at any time. The monogenes theos, the unique God. He has exegeted him. He has explained him. He has made him known. So who is it that has not been seen? It's the Father. Then who was seen? It's the Son. And so if the Son has been seen, then who was seen on the throne in Isaiah 6? It was Jesus. That's what John 12:41 tells us. You can immediately go into a clear and powerful presentation of what the Bible teaches on this subject from this common objection from ignorance. And it is from ignorance